Hey, this is Pawnce continuing on finally with that old Elo Gain Guide series I was doing a while back. I know it's been a few months and sort of I got sidetracked. Um, and I believe when I last left up, I said I was going to move on to team fight mechanics, something to something a bit more concrete. But I changed my mind, actually just now, and I figured I'd do a sort of more conceptual piece, sort of talking about how to deal with trolls and ragers, which is sort of unfortunately a topic we all have to deal with while climbing the ladder up to where we belong in terms of where we feel we belong in ELO or tiers or whatever it's called now. Um, so yeah, I'm going to break this basic sort of problem down, I suppose you could call it, into trolls and ragers, as the title would indicate. They're two very specific things I'm trying to get at. Two very distinct things, both in terms of content and well, how to deal with them. So yeah, let's start with trolls. I mean, it's a very broad term nowadays. It's really overused. I mean, it's just used to describe any kind of stupidity online, either intentional, accidental, or any kind of bad behavior, or what's perceived as bad behavior. But for our sake here, we're going to go with just sort of a more limited definition of anyone who's, intentionally trying to cause problems. He's trying to ruin everyone's experience. He's just being a douchebag, or she, and women are capable of this as well. We're all about equality here on this channel. But yeah, like I said, the term is a bit too broad nowadays. I mean, my experience with it is a bit older. I may have even been called a troll back in the day. Back in the day, I was a troll hipster, I suppose. Um, the definition again was a bit different. I would consider what I did more sort of like a trolling for justice sort of thing. Basically, if anyone was being an idiot and causing problems, I use the fact that I was smarter than them basically and just sort of antagonize people until they left. Uh, uh, you might even still see that nowadays a little bit while I'm streaming or something. For example, in a normal game, if I don't really care about the outcome and I've been playing a while, I'm kind of bored, and there's this guy just being a jerk, and he's bothering other people. And I notice, there's probably a way I can bother him a lot. Like I see something in how he's typing, and I kind of recognize the personality trait. I might say something to sort of egg him on, and he kind of keeps going and just gets more and more pissed off and riled up, and it's sort of funny to watch a person self-destruct like that. But that's not entirely what we're here to talk about. Although then again, you do have to consider, if there is a troll and you're getting in an argument with someone, is that truly trolling in terms of, this guy's trying to be disruptive and destroy everyone's experience, or are you somehow also responsible for what's going on? I mean, the old saying is it takes two to tango, which is not entirely true. Um, you could have one guy breakdancing. Anyway, uh, yeah, I mean, if you're doing something to get in an argument with some guy, just labeling this person as a troll and then, trying to deflect all responsibility from yourself is not particularly constructive. You have to assess, how did I contribute to this? How could I have handled the situation better? And if you're confident that, you had nothing to do with this situation, this guy just came into the game to be a jerk and ruin everyone's experience, then we can kind of move on from there and try and determine how to deal with that sort of thing. Now, I'm going to use a YouTube example here because when people think YouTube comments, usually they think a cesspool of absolute crap. I found the experience not so much that. I mean, you guys, especially my subscribers and people who watch the videos, most part have been like really, good. And I like talking with you guys. That's why I try and answer all the comments, and we get some good dialogue going here. It's actually extremely rare when I get sort of the trolly comments and people just spewing crap trying to cause problems. I actually had to dig through a lot of my videos for all time. I finally found a couple. I mean, these are really tame. This is the best I could find, which is a bit unfortunate because they're sort of lame and it's almost like they're not trying very hard. So we have this guy here who says, "You get a haircut, and sorry, no offense, but you kinda look weird. Sorry if it hurt your feelings." So yeah, I mean, obviously these two guys are trying to mess with me here. Um, and the normal standard procedure would be like I just delete them, so you guys don't even have to read this stuff. I mean, if it was just me, I would leave them up because I don't care. But yeah, for the sake of civil discussion amongst the rest of you guys, I try and keep the place clean for you guys. Now I can't speak for everyone else's experience, but you know, stuff along these lines, no one would ever say that to me in person, and no one ever has said anything like that to me in person, and I don't expect it will happen anytime soon. So that sort of, well, that doesn't beg the question, but rather, I mean, if someone actually did say something like that to me in person, I'd probably find that pretty funny. It's like some random kid comes up and goes, "You're ugly and you smell." And it's like, I'm pretty sure I just kind of laugh and go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Um, which would beg the question, why would, and I'm sure you guys would find that kind of situation very awkward and not get angry at it, which sort of begs the question, why would you react to like something like that online? Um, some kid comes up to you, you're not going to sit there in the street, yelling and arguing with a little kid. And I'm not to say this is, all young people are stupid and, they're not worthy of your respect or whatever. But I mean, so if you're still in like school or something, just an example for you would be, the kinds of people who would say this sort of stuff. I'm sure you can think of an example of some guy or girl who's like this. And you're not that person. So, I mean, why would you say stuff like this? Why would you engage with a person like that? Um, but what I suppose what this ultimately comes down to is, I mean, maybe you guys would get into an argument with something like that, and then you have to sort of examine, well, why would you get in an argument over, ridiculous crap that doesn't matter from some random guy? Well, what that ultimately, I suppose, boils down to is just sort of a matter of, well, confidence, really. It is, I mean, basically, if you're confident in your own capabilities, you know exactly who you are, right, all that sort of stuff. There's no reason to take anything anyone, says like that seriously, because, if someone's saying something and you're reacting to it, on some level they're hitting a nerve. I'm going to use myself as an example here, and perhaps this is somewhat egotistical, and it probably is, but like I'm not going to ever respond to anyone who's saying crap online because I know exactly what I'm capable of as a person. I know what I've accomplished in life, and I mean there's simply no reason to engage that sort of behavior really. Um, if anything, what it elicits is sort of, I guess, a reaction of almost pity. I mean, I don't mean pity in the sense that I feel sorry for you, I'm gonna try and help you kind of thing, but it's like, wow, your personality is awful. You're the one that has to live with that, so good luck. I'm kind of glad I'm not you. I mean, and that's sort of what everyone should be aiming for, really. I mean, you should just sort of, even if you're not being sympathetic, you might be, but it's it's not your problem that these people have problems. Don't let that affect you. You're doing your own thing. Just to be confident in that, and obviously not everyone can do this. I am saying this like very simply. I know a lot of people have more confidence issues. It's a very common thing. I've known a lot of people with confidence issues, throughout my life. I'm not entirely qualified to talk about that sort of thing for you guys. Everyone has their own experiences. They have to work through that themselves. Because I'm not some sort of self-motivational help guy. I'm just a guy with, some douchebag with a camera, which I guess does make me qualified. I don't know. That's what it seems like most of these people are. But anyway, we're getting off topic here. Um, but yeah, it's something you have to work through, not just for League of Legends. I mean, it'll help you in everything in life. But maybe you can start with League of Legends. Use it as a stepping stone. Sort of start to realize that these people don't matter, and having more confidence in yourself, to not react to these sort of things. It's kind of almost a stepping stone, I would say. Um, so what I suppose this all translates to in sort of in-game, and I've alluded to this, is just ignore these people. I mean, there's no reason to react to it. Absolutely nothing good can come of just engaging with a person who's determined to ruin everything for everyone. Uh, like they're not going to suddenly shut up because they're, been smote by the righteous fury of your words and repent their sins or something. That's never ever going to happen. In the history of the internet, that has never happened either. Um, so just keep your mouth shut. Play. Um, Odds are, if you're not a troll, is a 4 out of 5 chance that you can have a troll on your team. There's a 5 out of 5 chance you can get it on the enemy team. So odds are it's going to happen to the enemy team more often than you, and you won't even notice it when it happens to the enemy team because you might see something, in chat saying, "Oh God, we have a troll on our team," but you're not going to take notice of that. And 10 games later, you're going to get one on your team and go, "Why are the trolls always on my team?" No, they're spread out evenly, and odds are you're not going to get them. And if you keep playing, hell, you might even win. If you're ignoring, he might get bored and just go, whatever, I'm going to start playing, and then you have a 5v5, or you can even win 4v4 or 4v5s. I've even won 3v5s before, so I mean, and even if you don't win, everything is a learning experience, as I've talked to in previous videos. Just play it out. You get better as a result of learning through every game, so it's almost sort of like a delayed elo gain almost. You're going to gain something out of every game. But yeah, that's really all I'd say on the matter of trolls. We're going to move on to ragers, which is the thing you're going to be dealing with a lot more in this game. The unintentional, well, it's not even unintentional, but like it's not a malicious disruption of the game. It's unfortunately people have breakdowns sometimes, and you got to deal with that. So yeah, because it's not, but it's not deliberate, but that's not an excuse. Just because they're raging and sort of breaking down and ruining things for everyone else, and as a result probably sucking, that's not a reason or any kind of excuse for you to counter rage at them or get upset yourself. I mean, you're just as bad as the rager if you start doing that. I mean, you're getting into a cycle here that's completely pointless. It's for very practical reasons, because I mean, if you're angry, you're not concentrating properly. If you're typing angrily, you're probably going to get ganked from the river or something and not notice, and then die, and then you're going to lose. So to mitigate that sort of thing, I mean, Riot has statistics on it as well. When you're in the loading screen, you see things like people who argue with their team lose 30% more, whatever the hell the statistic was. And it's also it's a basic martial arts principle as well. You don't want to get angry because it's just going to mess with your game. In Japanese, it's called fudoshin, which is actually originally a Buddhist principle adapted to martial arts, where you don't let any kind of negative emotion affect you, be it hate, rage, jealousy, fear, anything like that. You just shut it out. You do your own thing, and let muscle memory take over. It's a bit different from League of Legends, obviously, but what it boils down to is largely a control of somewhat conscious control of adrenaline flow, basically. A League of Legends sort of parallel would be, when you hear about the pro players, they go up on stage, especially the ones who are inexperienced with live tournaments and have to go up on a stage in front of hundreds of people. There's big lights flashing everywhere. Their adrenaline starts to get going, and they say, "Well, I can't play. I can't concentrate. I just froze up," because they're not used to that sort of thing. That's a similar thing to what's going on with someone who's raging, back and forth. They get their heart rates going up, their adrenaline starts to flow. They're not concentrating on the game. I'm going to go to basically one of my papers here from when I was back in university. This is from my undergrad in archaeology. For archaeological theory, I believe. And it's somewhat related. Bear with me for a moment. I think the topic is fascinating, and it kind of gives you an idea of the sort of the basic processes that are going on with adrenaline flow and that kind of thing. So this paper was called "Assessing Conflict and Warfare in the Archaeological Record: Understanding Prehistoric and Armed Aggression Through Archaeological Theory." So let's go down to, I believe it was page 14. Yeah, so I'm talking about how adrenaline affects the body. The autonomic nervous system, the ANS, regulates things such as heart rate. The ANS is then further subdivided into sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and the parasympathetic nervous system, PNS. In terms of function, in relation to confrontational situations, the SNS enhance functions related to combat and physical strain. The PNS function, however, is more related to factors relevant to states of relaxation and consequently largely shuts down during increased conflict or intense conflict. Malloy and Grossman then relates that, by the way, Malloy and Grossman is people I'm quoting, so don't worry about that too much. Then relate that there are 5 states of psychological arousal, all of which are associated with distinct heart rate levels dictated by the SNS. These heart rate increases are thus different from those caused by physical exertion alone, and thus have their own unique effects. They are generally defined as condition white, yellow, red, gray, and black. Condition white and yellow see little change in terms of one's cognitive capabilities. The heart rate does not exceed 80. So that's basically, I'm not quoting right now, but basically it's just, you're sitting around. This is kind of ideal for playing League of Legends. You're relaxed, you can do your own thing. It is with code red that noticeable effects begin to occur, as the midbrain takes control and the heart rate jumps to 115 to 145 beats per minute. The midbrain is used primarily for reflexive processes, instinctive processes related to basic survival, unlike the forebrain, which is responsible for abstract reasoning and problem solving. Furthermore, fine motor skills begin to actively deteriorate in contrast to visual and cognitive reaction times, which see an increase in speed. So that's a bit of an interesting point there. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying when you're getting angry at someone in League of Legends, it's the same as some guy running at you with an axe. Although the reactions of some people sometimes might make you wonder. But sort of the basic things that are going on are kind of similar. Your heart rate starts to rise. And sort of your more cognitive processes start to slow down in favor of just sort of fast reaction speed. And the thing is, League of Legends is, it's not fighting someone, obviously. Code Red, it might be a decent place to be, when your adrenaline flowing, it's going to cut down on the amount of pain you feel. You're a bit faster. But League of Legends, that's not what it's all about. It's more of a thinking game. You're more the general. You're sitting back. You have to process so much information at once, going, okay, I'm going to get ganked from this position, so I'm not going to be here while I manage these last hits, and, in 300 gold, I got to do this. There's a lot of things to think about. If you start shutting these things out in favor of, being angry and getting adrenaline flowing, that's not good for anyone. I'm going to get into a part in a second here, which is not related, but I'm going to read it anyway because I find it fascinating. Pro players, they're used to this kind of thing, and with so much practice, they're probably, in terms of pure muscle memory, in terms of how they react to situations. So when they're stressed and up on the stage, as I was talking about before, they're probably relatively well equipped to deal with these sorts of things. That's why, you hear, again, from pro players, the more they're used to the stage, the better they are at dealing with it. Last little bit here, I'm going to finish it off for the sake of finishing it off. Condition gray is a more typical state entered by individuals untrained to deal with combat situations, or perhaps being on a stage, and is ideally the threshold which should not be crossed by a trained combatant. At this stage, actions often become entirely instinctive, and various sensory functions become compromised. Condition black occurs when the heart rate exceeds 175 beats per minute and is associated with the potential total inability to enact reasonable reactions. Individuals will often freeze, empty their bladders, bowels, stomachs, and initiate acts of uncharacteristic and reckless heroism/cowardice. Motor skills also deteriorate to their lowest possible levels. So just to round that out here. Obviously, again, like I'm saying, this is not League of Legends exactly, but kind of give an idea of what adrenaline heart rate does. You want to maintain your cool so you can think about, how the game is playing out. So with that out of the way, hopefully you kind of now understand the importance of keeping your cool, at least on at a logical level. I mean, if you can't do it, it's something to work at, but you got to understand the importance of it. Yeah, from here I roughly break it down in terms of dealing with said ragers. There's roughly 3 ways of doing it. I mean, they're not the only ways, but this is how I break it down personally. I got my notes over here, so that's why I'm looking over this direction. So first way of dealing with it, it's the easiest way, is just say absolutely nothing. Ignore the problem. It doesn't exist. Put it out of sight, out of mind. If this kind of thing bothers you, it's going to get you angry as well. This is the easiest way to deal with it. It's not ideal, obviously, and it's basically it's the same approach as dealing with a troll. You know, you're ignoring the situation. I'm out. Type /ignore if you have to. Um, but it's certainly better than getting angry yourself and engaging in the situation and making things worse. So yeah, if you're not confident in dealing with people or with your own sort of emotional state, this is what you do. If you're slightly better with it but not confident to take more advanced steps, still read chats. You can communicate with the team. Just skip over all the angry, ragey bits. Because communication still is important. I mean, there's obviously 3 other people on the team not raging, hopefully, that you can communicate with. The second way of dealing with it is getting slightly involved in the situation. This is when, for example, there's one person on your team who's not dealing with it as well as you are, and they're getting, drawn into this rage cycle. So now they're angry and yelling at the raging guy. So what you can do at this point is sort of be like a lifeline to the guy who's getting sucked into this vortex. It's basically sort of say like, hey, just let that guy do whatever he wants. Ignore him. We really need your help in this. You're getting angry. You're not focusing on the game. We need you to focus. You're an important member of the team. Just sort of appeal to this person's sense that they're an important member of the team and they need their help. I mean, most people react to that fairly well. I mean, again, this is not ideal because you're probably pissing off the original rager more, but at least you got one guy still with you, and you're keeping some of your team intact. Hopefully, anyway. Like, it's fairly easy to actually shut down arguments between 2 other people. Because you're not part of it. You're just trying to help settle things. Don't get involved always in the argument, but just appeal to one person's ego almost. So the third way of dealing with this then is actually going to the source itself. If someone's raging and feeding because they're having a bad game or whatever, well, there's actually multiple ways of dealing with a person themselves. First off, he may not be a rager. This is a bit different. You need to be able to distinguish this. Like someone's just doing poorly and recognizes it. Maybe you can offer constructive criticism. Don't be too overbearing and self-righteous about it, but if they recognize you're doing poorly, you can be a bit more direct about how you want to approach it. They said, well, I think Warmogs would help you, something like that. And then they go, okay, yeah, don't get angry at them. Try and help a guy out. Now, if the person is actually raging and doing poorly and starting to doing more and more poorly, you can also offer them constructive criticism, well, but you have to approach it a bit different because they're always already angry. If you come at it from a position of authority, saying, like, I'm better than you, you got to do this, that's not going to work. They're just going to get more angry. If you approach the situation a bit more delicately, from this seems almost kind of passive aggressive and underhanded, but phrase things more like questions. Maybe like, this guy's getting angry. He just died. He might say, "God damn it! I can't believe I can't do anything." He's like, "Well, how much gold do you have?" Start a dialogue, and then go like, "Well, I don't know. If you got maybe 1,000 gold, maybe you could work towards Warmogs or something. Do you think that would help?" And then he might start thinking about ways to not solve the solution himself, but you put him on the right track to figure it out for himself. Then he might start feeling useful again. Or another example is, I'm going to use an example I used from a game I played a little while back. The rest of our team was doing quite well. There was this one guy, it was a Vladimir, and he was doing really terribly. I'm not saying he's a bad player, he probably just had a bad game. But all we needed him to do was just stick with us so we could have a 4v5, because the rest of us were fairly farm, but not farm enough to win a 4v5. But he was running off and doing his own thing and getting angry and going, "God damn it, I hate this game," and all that kind of thing. And so from what I did from there is it's a similar sort of appeal to the ego tactic, where I was basically kind of buttering him up and saying, well, I made him feel like an important member of the team. It's like, Vlad, we really need you. You're an important part of our team, or our damage. Without your damage, we can't beat these guys. Can you please group with us? We need your help. And then so he responded to that fairly reasonably and well. It's like, oh, I didn't say anything, but he just started grouping with us after that, and then we ended up winning the game. So I mean, just you treat people like human beings, you'd be surprised how well they react to that sort of situation. Um, no, you might say this is a bit manipulative, but really you're manipulating them for their own good. I mean, maybe you legitimately feel sorry for them and then, you're being sincere. I don't know. That's not how I deal with it. I'm just, I am manipulating these people, but because, really they're just, well, they're faceless cogs in the RNG solo queue machine. I mean, maybe they say something funny, it puts a human face to them, and I can have a bit more interaction with these people. But otherwise, they're just sort of, well, anonymous automatons, and yeah, they're steps on the ladder up the solo queue rank thing. But yeah, that's my basic philosophy in terms of how to deal with trolls and ragers. I think this is quite a long video. I didn't time it. Hopefully you found this informative, and if you want me to elaborate on anything, please feel free to ask in the comments or whatever. Hopefully I didn't wander too far off the topic with my term paper and all that stuff. But yeah, this has been Pawnce. This is it for this part of the ELO gain guide. Next, I'll probably start doing actual games again, either team fight mechanics or sort of objective tactical sense. Or maybe I'll think of something else. But anyway, that's it for now. This has been Pawnce from lifeintheleague.com/livestream. Livestream every weekday of an unknown schedule, but it'll probably be similar to my old one of 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just check in the evenings, Eastern Standard Time at some point, or the afternoon, and I'll be playing most likely. Yeah, or you follow me at Pawnce_lol at Twitter, and I tweet every time I go live with the stream, or just follow me on twitch.tv/Pawnce. So thanks for watching again. Hope you found this informative, not too rambly. I'll see you guys all around.